Okay, let's unpack this.
Hmm.
Today, we're diving deep into Operation Midnight Hammer, the recent U.S. attack on Iran's nuclear facilities.
Right. Big news.
Yeah, and our mission for you, really, is to distill what your sources are saying. We're
Mhm.
looking at how effective this attack actually was, the damage involved.
And what Iran might do next. Because the reports, they're all over the place.
Exactly, a fascinating web of conflicting information.
So just to set the scene, we're talking U.S. B-2 Spear bombers
Stealth bomber.
dropping these huge 30,000-pound bombs, the GPU-57s, MOPs they call them.
Massive ordnance penetrators. And tomahawks, too, right? From subs.
Yeah, submarine-launched tomahawks, and the main targets were Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan, key nuclear sites.
And like you said, straight away, completely different stories on how well it worked.
Oh,
On
absolutely.
the U.S. side, you've got officials like Air Force General Dan Kane, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. They're talking extremely severe damage.
Saying it devastated the Iranian nuclear program. Real strong language. Destruction of capabilities.
And President Trump, he went even further. Said the facilities were completely and totally obliterated, the goal being to set Iran back years, maybe decades.
But then you flip it. Iran's version. Very different.
Totally.
You have Mehdi Mohammadi claiming, well, no irreversible damage. He insists they had advance warning, evacuated the sites.
Which is a huge claim, if true.
It is. And the AEOI, Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, they confirmed attacks happened, but basically said, this won't stop us.
And the IAEA, the UN watchdog.
They reported no immediate signs of radioactive contamination. Plus, Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, said the enriched uranium reserves already moved, transferred elsewhere.
Okay, so if they really did move the crucial materials beforehand, that really challenges the U.S. claim of devastation, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It shows how information itself is, it's part of the battlefield here. Makes getting the real ground truth incredibly tough.
So that core question remains, what actually happened to the uranium stockpile, given these clashing accounts?
It's the key question.
Let's maybe look at the damage we can sort of verify. Satellite images, reports.
Starting with Fordow.
Okay, Fordow. This is the one buried really deep, right? Like 80, 90 meters underground.
Yeah, notoriously hard to hit. Reports say 14 MOPs from B-2s hit it.
And the satellite imagery, checked by places like Sanad and Maxar, it shows things. You see craters of damaged air defenses.
Large diameter holes, I read, and this weird gray-blue ash.
Right, and some tunnel entrances look blocked. But the New York Times, they reported severe damage, yes, but maybe not complete destruction.
They mentioned Iran might have packed the tunnels, had trucks there right before the strikes. Again, suggesting maybe they anticipated this.
It fits that narrative. Now, Natanz, that's Iran's biggest enrichment site.
Right, also hit by B-2s with MOPs. There's a crater there, too, 5.5 meters across.
But the really critical thing at Natanz seems to be the electricity infrastructure.
Ah, not just the underground halls themselves. Exactly. The substation, main power, emergency supply, backup generators, all reportedly destroyed.
So even if the centrifuges weren't directly hit underground...
Losing power like that could seriously damage those delicate machines. It suggests a strategy focused on disruption, knocking out capabilities, even if you can't, flatten the whole thing.
And Isfahan, briefly.
Isfahan seems to have been hit mainly by those Tomahawk missiles, over 2 dozen, and satellite pictures do show pretty widespread building damage there.
Okay, so putting this together, Iran takes these hits, tells one story, the U.S. tells another. What's Iran's position now? What's the dilemma?
Well, it's a stark dilemma, as you put it. Do they retaliate, possibly triggering a much wider war?
Which is a huge risk.
Or do they pause, maybe focus inward, consolidate? They've naturally vowed everlasting consequences, said they reserve all options. Standard rhetoric, but still.
And those options could be serious, like trying to close the Strait of Hormuz.
That's a major one. Choke point for global oil. Or direct attacks on U.S. forces, maybe allies in the region, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, using missiles, drones.
Or activating their proxies across the region.
That's always on the table. Some Iranian sources are hinting at hitting one or more U.S. positions, even continuing the war with Israel.
Beyond direct military action.
Well, they could speed up the nuclear program itself, maybe go for a weapon, pull out of the NPT entirely.
Which would end international inspections.
Precisely. And they've mentioned this supposed secure and invulnerable location for enrichment, where they could try economic warfare, maybe cutting their own oil exports to hurt the market.
Diplomatically, what's happening?
Foreign Minister Iraqi is heading to Moscow for what they're calling serious consultations. Russia's a key player here. And Iran's called for an emergency UN Security Council meeting. Plus, they've deployed their Khyber-Shekan missile, which is a signal in itself.
So yeah, we're left with this fundamental tension, the U.S. claiming major success, crippling damage.
And Iran denying it,
Yeah.
insisting they were prepared. The program continues, verifying either side completely. Very difficult for observers, for you.
Yeah.
And here's maybe a final thought to leave you with. Okay, maybe the physical buildings, the equipment, maybe it's damaged, maybe it's disrupted.
Right.
But what about the knowledge? Iran spent decades building up technical expertise, scientific know-how. That's much harder to bomb.
That's a really important point. Knowledge isn't stored in just one building.
Exactly. So it raises this question, what does destruction of capabilities truly mean if the knowledge itself survives, maybe even spreads, perhaps to that invulnerable location they mentioned?
That's definitely something to chew on. What does destroying capability mean in the 21st century? Food for thought. We encourage you to consider these deeper questions as this complex situation continues to unfold.